In this video, I want to talk about secondary sexual triggers. I've typed in prom girls in Google search, and I got these results. What you see here are several women preparing for a prom. They wear their long prom dresses. They have probably makeup on to appear feminine. They shouldn't use makeup to appear feminine because there are females already. But okay, but that's also part of the programming of the world to make women think that they're not feminine, that they need to work to become feminine, which is insane, but okay, that's the world. Well, they all appear women to me because even that you need to be careful with these days. But okay, there's another prom picture. Here they wear shorter dresses. You see more skin. And here you have a variation. Here you see more skin, here you see less skin. By the way, a prom is a ritual. It's a sex ritual. It's an initiation ritual for women to become feminine. As I mentioned before, it's stupid to have initiation for women to become feminine because they're already feminine. But in the world, it works like this. You don't want any human being to operate from their natural value. You don't want them in natural autonomy, no. You want them in a debased way of thinking in which they are convinced they are nothing, so that they seek compensation externally. And the prom is a sex ritual for teenage girls to prepare them for sexual relationships in line with what the community expects of them. Whether it is that you will become a wife, that's what the long dress represents, or whether you become a semi-prostitute, that's what the shorter dresses reflect. That's what they symbolize. It depends. Then you have the color red. That's the color of withdrawal. Then you have the color of enforcement, which is blue. And then you have this one with the light decorations, which refers to a Greek goddess. So this is a ritual, okay? Now, am I saying that if you went to a prom that you sinned? No. Many go to proms just for the party, just to have a good time. But now you know the background of the prom, or they sometimes just call it a ball. It's a ritual. That's how the Greeks initiated their teenage girls into womanhood. But okay. I want to talk about secondary sexual triggers here. And it works like this. As a human being, you are a sexual being. Sexuality is not a part of your being. Sexuality is your being. Okay? And sexuality doesn't only refer to the physical intercourse. It refers to how you relate to yourself and others also. Your primary sexual trigger is the energetic emission that comes from someone. Okay, let me give an example. Are these women? Oh, you know what? Let me use another photograph, just to be sure. Let's say you would see this teenager in the street, not dressed like this. She has a small energy field, probably till over here, and it's soft. So her emission will be a soft emission. If you pass by as a guy, you will feel this softness because your energetic sensors will sense it, and that will trigger you to feel comfortable. That's the primary sexual trigger. The secondary sexual trigger is what the community conditions you into holding on to. Now, this one has curves, which is feminine. It's a feminine figure, small torso. So, good news. This is a real woman. Unless this is well photoshopped. Okay, let's say it's a real woman. She has curves, which is natural, so your brain as a male is programmed to identify this as a female. But then you have the expectations of the community. If you live in a community of hunters and gatherers, like a nomad tribe, where they have to move from place to place in cold regions, that's how many white folks lived in the far past, then having a woman that's overweight is not a good idea, because her body needs to carry the weight and they need to move from place to place. And if there's a rival tribe coming to kill them or to enslave them, then the women are expected to fight together with the men. So the women are expected both to give birth to children as well as to fight with the men. So, in such a tribe, you had witches who maintained a thin figure because they worshipped Aphrodite, the Greek goddess, and they gave this thin figure as a model to other women. So, as a young man growing up in that community, you're exposed to women who are shaped like this, quite thin, and those women that are shaped like this are often put in positions, not really positions of power, but positions of influence. So you're exposed to this on a regular basis, and you witness that other women want to become like them. So you are formed by your environment to consider this valuable. So when you see a woman that's shaped like this, you are triggered. That's a secondary sexual trigger. I hope I'm clear here. If I'm not clear, leave comments. I'll make longer videos about this. But if you grew up, let's say, in an African tribe where there was no need to relocate all the time, and there's a lot of fertile land, too much fertile land and few people, then the women receive a lot of food, which causes their body size, which causes them to be a bit more, I won't say overweight, but they're a bit more filled, let me say like that. And because of that, they have big butts. And you are told by the men, older men in that community as a boy, that women with big butts are reliable. What does it come down to? Because they have big butt, it means that they have more body fat. That means they can give birth to more children. And that means that they can take good care of themselves because they know how to feed themselves. So in such a community as a male, you are shaped by the community to consider big butts as a security. So when you see a woman and she has a big butt, you become excited. This is not directly related to a physical excitement. It is the secondary sexual trigger that triggers you. For example, I was speaking about rituals, right? For example, this over here. This is also a ritual. You have a red ribbon, and this is a circle which refers to the sun worship. That's put around the leg, and the husband or the husband to be expected to take it away from her. Well, this is an invitation in which the women reveal that they're ready for their role in the community. So even these dresses and also those shoes they wear are how they were conditioned by the environment. And as males, you are shaped to consider this good. That's a secondary sexual trigger. All right? Now, why am I showing this to you? Is to reveal to you why they spent, with they I mean the pagan businessmen who owned corporations, they spent millions in shaping your sexual perception. Why? Because it goes like this. If the secondary triggers you received by your community are wrong, it will mess up your whole life. It will mess up your way of thinking. It will mess up therefore it will mess up your mental health. It will mess up your emotional well-being. It will mess up every relationship you will have, whether it's with the opposite sex or with people from your own gender. And once you have a community that has unnatural sexual triggers, you have an unstable community that's filled with violence, because that faulty sexual perception will cause domestic violence eventually. And that's how you create a situation where there's violence that's transferred to the next generation. And then the next generation is dysfunctional, and it goes on and on and on. And that's how the pagan rulers of this world keep populations trapped in a cycle of negativity, and the demons feed off of it. There's nothing wrong with secondary sexual triggers. We all have them because we've all been conditioned by our communities. But the secondary sexual triggers must be in line with your natural design that the Most High designed you with. The moment secondary sexual triggers go against the natural design that Christ made, it's diabolic. And it goes like this. If they say to young women, you need to be very thin, and you need to have masculine features. If they would say that openly, all the women would think, what? I'm a woman, why should I have masculine features? Instantly, the women would drop it, say this is BS. But if you put transgenders in front of women, and you promote these transgenders as the models of how women ought to be, the females begin to emulate this. And they'll all be frustrated because they can't have a figure like that because they're not a man. And at the same time, you expose the males in the community to those images. What happens? The males are conditioned to lust after masculine features. Are those men that have been conditioned homosexual because of this? No. But eventually, it will cause many of them to become receptive to homosexual invitations. Why? Because they're conditioned in the secondary sexual, they received secondary sexual triggers that trigger them to be excited upon a man. Because only men have masculine features. So if you have this dysfunction in a community that males are trained to lust after men while seeking a woman, you have the perfect situation, perfect for the demons, to cause generational cycles of pedophilia and child sexual molestation. And that's the state the Western world is in. Sexualizing children is also part of this. Look, the reason I'm telling you this is, first of all, you need to know it. Because, well, the elite know this and they use this knowledge against you. So I'm making you alert of it. But also, you need to understand that many of the relationships people form today, they think they did it by their own so-called free will. No, they were conditioned into those relationships by the community. Now, I don't mean that if Susie gets involved with Bart, that community programmed her to later become involved with Bart. She didn't even know Bart existed. But Bart reflects a type of masculine image that the community conditioned him into. And Susie also, she reflects a feminine image that the community conditioned her into. And both have been conditioned to look for those images. So when they're attracted to one another, it's the secondary sexual triggers that have been triggered. But if those secondary triggers are heliocentric, so they are against Christ, if that attraction that they have as males and females will be toxic. Okay? And that's how the elites keep human population trapped in cycles of violence. Well, that's it for this video. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.